So my question is, if we were to zoom out from that and talk maybe really practical, like as we're traversing our day-to-day life, what do you think about, Christian? I come from the deep red South. It's just my background. And so I'm used to these, burly conservative men who are like, well, I'm not buying Heinz ketchup anymore. You know what I mean? Stuff like, if you find out, anything's off in your values, which, virtually you can't separate anymore.
Very hard.
You boycott. But I'm like,
which I think that we did see on a large scale last year with, brands like Target and Budweiser.
Yeah, that's huge.
And so, is that
appropriate? Should we do this? You have the opportunity right here to rally the troops. we can put them in the crosshairs and all boycott together. But is that the best way to go about it? What should we do? Socially, as a response to, hey, I don't want to support this movement, but at the same time, I can't hunt and fish for my livelihood for the rest of eternity.
Well, I think making a decision on whether you boycott or not always has to start with, okay, what's the purity of your heart in this? Like, where's the vitriol? Like, is there bitterness or anger or defensiveness in your choice? But then also, I think it's virtuous to say this far but no farther. And the things with Bud Light and Target we were talking about earlier, like Target announced this year that they're going to scale back in many of their stores, their pride expressions. Because last year it was getting into not just rainbow flags and queer T-shirts, but it was getting into satanic ritual and those kinds of things. And so that kind of transgressivism, I think it's okay for us to say this far but no farther.
Right.
And when we're talking about initiatives that are causing children to risk their lives, literally, and their future health, their ability to raise and have children, even we're saying children are making those decisions. I think it's important for society as a whole to say no, not any further. Like this cultural expression is not. We are going to have to decide what human rights means and human dignity means, and crossing the threshold into changing, taking gender transition surgeries or those kinds of things, that actually doesn't necessarily yield human dignity. We need to start talking about that, really. And this is one way, since our political government is so polarized, and since our representational government is often compromised, like here in California, we don't have very much representation on the social conservative side in government. The only way we can actually assert ourselves on a civic level is through decisions that are economic like this.
Right.
And they do have impact when we're unified in doing it.
Well, and I think it actually is very clear to see that one of the reasons why Target is probably regressing is because they're like, hey, we're down. Now, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I promise you their bottom line was, or their revenue for the month of June last year was a lot lower. And they're like, actually, this isn't even worth it for us. Like, we're still going to, have some sort of obviously pride expression, but we're not trying to lose our company over the, agenda of, supporting.
Yeah. I mean, there's a larger conversation as well in terms of how much do we want corporate policy to establish public policy, civic policy. And we are seeing that, while I love Patagonia and REI, I'm a hiker, I love those kinds of things. And I love their social justice initiatives. I love environmental initiatives, and I love social welfare initiatives. But there comes a point where large corporations like Target or others, Bud Light, shouldn't be making public policy or shouldn't be influencing public policy and controlling public policy in the way that we're watching that happen today.
Right.
And so I don't know, those lines need to be drawn.
I also feel like there's a level of virtue signaling from the beginning of let's virtue signal for Pride Month and see, in hopes that would affect the bottom line.
Yeah.
And then when it, totally goes the opposite direction, it's like, well, it was just a virtue signal. We'll pull it back.
Well, I would really love to see the day. I think right at this moment and over the last 5 years, we've seen this really dramatic swing towards what we're calling virtue signaling, where like our airlines, for example, are all about pride. And everywhere you go, like when you go to Macy's, you're going to be seeing pride flags and making donations to organizations. I would really love to see that run its full course and be ended, so that LGBT identifying people no longer need this force in culture to feel safe. They no longer need this force in culture to feel confident in expressing themselves naturally in culture.
Do you feel like we're on the other side of the mountain?
I hope that we're getting there, because if we could finally arrive at that space, then maybe we could tone down this cultural pressure.